Hi, everybody. My name is Patrick Lloyd, and I am the instructor for General Chemistry 2, Section 04 and 04L. That's the lecture 04. The laboratory is 04L. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the fall 2025 semester. What I'm going to do here is go briefly over the syllabus, which is available for you in Brightspace. So make sure you're logging into Brightspace regularly to check for announcements and for any documents like lecture notes, things like that that show up in Brightspace. I'm only going to use the lecture Brightspace, not the laboratory. So you shouldn't need to check the 04L Brightspace page, that particular shell, just the 04 lecture. I'll put everything into there because I'm the instructor for both the lecture and the lab for this course. Okay. Well, the first thing to mention is I'm glad that you're taking chemistry. I'm glad you're taking general chemistry at Kingsborough. We have a lot to offer you here in this course, and I hope you enjoy it. It will be a course that requires you to work very independently. So if you're someone who needs a little bit more interaction and being, among other people, you might want to take an in-person course, which we offer each semester. But I assume that you took the online because that works for you. So if that's so, that's fine. Feel free to reach out to me. Let me know where you're from. I'd love to know if you're from a different college or you're from college at Kingsborough, why you would take an online course. As always, we want to make this course better as time goes by. And so any feedback from you would be very helpful. Okay, so it's an asynchronous course, and that means that the work will be done from wherever you do your work. Okay, let me give you some contact information. Patrick Lloyd's my name. I am an instructor at Kingsborough. I've taught at Kingsborough for a pretty long time now. I started in 2001, so I've been there a while. Before that, I taught in New Jersey, and before that, I taught in California. Okay. You can get a hold of me in different ways. You can certainly email me at the Kingsborough email, which is ployd@kbcc.cuny.edu. So that's right here. I also have several messaging apps, not all of them, but several. I have WhatsApp, Signal, and Telegram. You can text me or you can just do regular texting at this number here. Okay, 347-249-5676. In terms of texting, don't worry about the time of the day or the weekend or anything like that. If I don't get back to you, it's just because I'm either sleeping or busy during the day. But I'll get back to you. So, up to you whether you want to use email or messaging. Okay. I do have a Zoom account, so I can always do office hours with you. What I find with the asynchronous course is that students can really only do office hours, at unique times. Each person has their own. So reach out to me if you need to meet online. Okay. And then I do have a YouTube page here. I'm not going to click on it right here, but this is the link in the syllabus. Of course, this syllabus is available in the Brightspace. Exploding Chemistry, Patrick Lloyd. If you just want to search that in YouTube, it should come up. I have a lot of videos, and there are a lot of videos actually here for general chemistry too. A lot of videos. Let's see. In terms of the grading is done through our online homework and learning system, which is called ALEKS, ALEKS. It is something that you need to purchase. If you've taken Chem 11 at Kingsborough in the last year, you probably already purchased it there. And you may have purchased the 1-year access, and that's fine if you have that still available. You just essentially put in the course code and you can continue to use that purchase. If you haven't, then you'll need to purchase it. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. The grading is all done through ALEKS just to make it convenient. So we don't want to have some things on Brightspace and other things on ALEKS. It's all on ALEKS. Okay. And which means that you can look and see what your score in the course is at any time. It'll give you a percentage. It'll just give you an overall percentage at all times, which is great. Okay. The lecture is 80%, so all the lecture material, which would involve things like homework assignments and exams, that's on the lecture side. That's 80% of your course grade. The 20% is laboratory, which are these virtual labs that the publisher of Alex, which is called McGraw-Hill, this big publishing company, they um, they have these virtual labs that we're using, which are 20% of your course grade. So it's all on Alex. It's all actually together, so that's good. Okay. So there's some details here about points and stuff. Essentially, what I've done for this semester is I've made everything due the same day. Now that has some benefits, but it also comes with risk. The benefit is that if there's some particular week where something happens, maybe in your family or at work, or maybe your boss says work an extra 20 hours this week or you're fired, or you get hurt or sick, uh, making everything due the same day um, could benefit you that you won't have to worry about missing a particular assignment because it was due that day. The risk is that many people are not disciplined enough and organized enough to fit it into their schedule to do the work that's required to get the course done. So I've taken the side of giving it, everything due December 17th. And so my advice is you should have an assignment done every week. Um, and actually, my advice would be finish the course before the beginning of December, like at the end of November. I assume most of you are probably taking other courses, perhaps even at other colleges. If you can finish this course by December 1st, what that means is you'll have a couple of weeks to get ready for your final exams and final papers and your other courses, and you won't have to worry about your chemistry course. Okay. That's hard for most people to do. It would be hard for me to do, but people do it. I have people who finish the course in a couple of months. I've had people, well, actually, if you take it during the summer, you got to finish it like in 6 weeks. And I've had people finish it in as little as 4 weeks. It's a lot of work, um, but it is possible. Okay. So here's what we have here. The first thing we call the modules. You can just call that like a homework assignment. And so if you look through here, there's 8 of them. The last one is extra credit. Number 23, chapter 23, organic chemistry, is not a requirement for this course. It's extra credit, but it's extra credit. It'll increase your score if you do it. So essentially you have 7, which is kinetics, chemical equilibrium, acids and bases, acid-base equilibrium, entropy, free energy, and actually I should say entropy, free energy, and equilibrium. It's okay. Electrochemistry and then nuclear chemistry. So those are the core chapters in this course, but there is an intro to organic chemistry, which is an extra credit. Okay. If you look at to the right, it says topics, number of topics. These are essentially types of homework problems. So the first one, chapter 14, has 15 topics. That means there's 15 different types of homework problems that you have to do. A typical general chemistry textbook has about 6 sections per chapter. So that comes out to roughly, 2.5 problems per section. That's essentially what happens. Okay. Now, the thing about Alex is that it's not going to let you just like do it once and get the right answer and then you get to move on. You have to do it 3 times in a row. You have to get, it's going to be 3 similar types of problems. You have to get it right 3 in a row. If you miss it once, then you got to get, essentially, you have to do, if let's say you do first is right, second is right, third is wrong, it pushes you back 1. So now you got to get 2 in a row. And if you get 2 wrong in a row, then push you back another one, then you got to go back and get 3 in a row. So it can be careful. It could be frustrating. Make sure that you've kind of researched the problem a little bit. Okay. I'll talk more about Alex probably in a separate video, actually. Okay. So each chapter has, anywhere from 12 to 6. Is there 15? Yeah, 16, I think. Oh, I'm sorry, 15 topics, 12 to 15 topics. They're roughly the same. They're equally weighed. So even though some of them have 15 and some of them have 12, they're worth the same amount of credit. Okay. Those are homework problems. Those are homework sets, one for each chapter. Um, the due dates are all listed here again. It's all December 12th. I think they're offset by 15 minutes or something like that. Okay, so don't come to me on December 17th and say you can't finish chapter 14 because well, it's probably due at 9 p.m. or something like that. But that's all right. If you're in that situation, it'd be bad anyways. There are also exams, which are again are on Alex. These are short exams. They're 4 questions. They used to be 5. Now I pared them down to 4. They're based on the material from the chapter. You only have like around a half hour. I forget the exact amount of time. It might be 26 or 27 minutes. It's around a half hour, but there's only 4 questions. And again, there's one for each of the chapters 14 through 19. You may notice there's not one for 20 or 23. So once you finish chapter 19, that's the last exam. You're not going to have an exam for 20, and you're not going to have an exam for 23. Of course, 23 is extra credit anyways. Okay. So 6 exams. Again, they're all due December 17th. I don't recommend that again, one a week would be good. There's enough time between September and December 17th to be a little bit more than one per week, a little bit longer than one per week, but I would recommend try to do one per week. Okay. And then the course grading is based on, here's a formula you can use, but you don't even really need this because it's all in Alex anyways. It's just going to give you an overall percentage of how you're doing at all times. But this is how you would do it. 0.65 or 65 over 100 times your average for the homework. 15 over 100 or 0.15 times the average for your exams. 20 over 100 or zero point 0.2 times your laboratory average. And then add those up and you'll get an overall percentage, and then it breaks down pretty traditional, A, B, C, D, F. Okay. The virtual labs, very short section here on the labs because you're not going to be in person, so we don't really have to talk too much about lab safety. The main thing is that you're doing these virtual labs, and they will appear as assignments in Alex. Okay. There are 12 of them, so I forget exactly what the due dates are. I think I may have made them all December 17th as well. I'll check on that, but you can see, you'll be able to look through there. But those are virtual labs. So you don't really need any supplies or anything like that. Everything's available on the lab. It essentially runs you through a virtual experiment. Okay. They're kind of fun in a way. They're not that hard. Of course, you're going to need a lot of technology for this course. Probably want to have really good internet access and stuff like that, and good computers and things. The virtual labs, I don't think they work on the phones. I don't think they work on Chromebooks even. Check and see, but they're pretty the virtual labs, because of the visualizations they use, are a little bit more specific. They tend to want to have like a real PC or a real Mac. Okay, but you can check that as well. Here's the website for Alex, alex.com. It comes with an ebook by Julia Burge. I find these days people are using ebooks less and less. People are not really using textbooks, but it's available for you. It's good to read a textbook. You should learn how to read a textbook just by reading it. The way you learn it to read a textbook is just by reading. Even if you read just like 3 pages a day, that comes out to 21 pages a week. And after 10 weeks, that's 210 pages. So you can kind of make progress just by reading a few pages a day. Okay. If you want a physical copy of it, I put this in here. It's bookfinder.com, and just type in Julia Burge Chemistry and different versions will come up. Get an old version for 10 bucks, if you want to do that. Doesn't matter, you don't have to have the new one. Okay, so here's a little link about office hours and YouTube, how to create a Zoom account if you don't have one. CUNY has moved over to this thing called Microsoft Teams, but to be honest with you, I don't use it. I've been using Zoom. Seems to work well for anybody that needs to have a video conferencing. Okay. Let's see here. Here's information about Alex, how to register for it. The main thing is the class code. You put in your class code, which is right here. It's 10 digits. You can just copy and paste it when you go to alex.com. and that'll link you with this course. Just check, make sure that it says the dates are between August and December of 2025, and that's the correct one. Okay. If you need a few days to get money together to buy it, it's roughly $110. I think there may be an $89 version without the ebook. I'll have to check. I've gotten some emails from the publisher on that. But roughly speaking, between it's like 110, $115, something like that. It changes every year. If you need a few days before you can get the cash together, here's a 20-digit code called the financial aid code. That will give you 2 weeks access. You can do everything in the course for 2 weeks. At 2 weeks, it will lock you out and say you haven't paid, you got to pay. It doesn't erase the data. So if it takes even a couple days after that for you to buy it, it'll reinitiate the data that you have there. Okay. It's only good for 2 weeks. Um, that, no one's gonna finish the course in 2 weeks. I've had people try. Um, but it's yeah, 2 weeks is a little too difficult for most people. Software, what do you need? Well, you need access to Brightspace, and then you need the Alex. If you need to email me, you need an email program. And if you want to do office hours, you have to have a Zoom. Okay, so that's the software. Here's a picture of the textbook of the ebook that comes again with Alex. So if you buy the Alex, at least if you buy the version of Alex that comes with the ebook, you have the whole textbook. Okay. And then these are the sections that we're going to be covering in the course. Okay. YouTube videos. So I have YouTube videos for each chapter. And so here they are, 14. So these are links to the folders for each chapter. Um, 23 is still kind of in progress. I think I haven't made any videos for 23 yet. So that's one of my goals this semester is to get some 23 in there, but all the way through 20, they're all there. And some of the videos are lectures. Some of them are, working through Alex problems. And some of them are long and some of them are short. But you can just kind of search through there. Sometimes they're named based on like the section number 14.1, section 14.1. Sometimes they're named after Alex problems. I find that most people like the Alex problem solutions, showing you how to do those. And I'm going to try to do a few more this semester, so you have even more of those. Okay, so those are videos you can watch. Of course, you can watch other videos as well. It doesn't have to be just mine. Okay, so this is just a terminology here about Alex modules, topics, and explanation. So explanation. Each topic does have an explanation for the problem. So if you're doing an Alex problem and you click on explanation, it's going to give you a little warning that says, hey, if you look at the explanation, we're not giving you credit for this particular problem. But that's fine. You're looking it up. And you'll see an explanation written by some people at Alex. Some of the explanations are good. Some of them are kind of I don't think very good. But, you have a mix. It's something you can check, something you can try. You will, at the beginning of Alex, have to do what's called an initial knowledge check. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes. Try to be honest with it. If you really don't know how to do a problem, just say, I don't know how to do it. Okay. It's unlikely you'll know how to do very many of them because general chemistry 2 doesn't have any like topics, with the exception maybe of nuclear chemistry that you covered in other courses. It's all pretty specific to the course. So I wouldn't expect you to do much. There's a little bit here discussion about pi. The pi is essentially just a way of visualizing how many of the problems you've done based on slices. If you're interested in having a lecture on that, let me know. But it's not particularly important to you. Um, Due date's the 17th. I think everything's on the 17th. There are some on Alex, there are practice exams. So if you've done the homework assignment for a chapter, again, that would be called a module, and you're getting ready for the exam, and you want to practice, you can do this practice exam. The practice exams are very long, but it allows you to take like 3 hours if you need it, 2.5 hours, something like that. No credit for it. You don't get penalized if you don't do the practice exams, but they're in there. You'll see them under the assignments on Alex. There is no, so a little bit of detail here. When you're taking the exams, they lock you out of the ebook. That was my choice. I locked you out of it to see what you know. But you can have a scientific calculator. In fact, I would recommend it. You can have paper and pencils and all that. I recommend doing all of that, having that for you to help you. There is no separate final exam for the course. So once you finish the sixth exam, which I believe is for chapter 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, chapter 19, electrochemistry, then you're done. You don't have to take any more exams. Okay. The ebook has a bunch of problems that you can practice, which are similar to Alex. The wording is usually a little different, but sometimes I find that if you do the practice problems in the ebook, that's probably the first thing to do. That's a little bit better than going straight to the Alex, but that's something you'll figure out. If you want more practice problems, each chapter in the textbook has a bunch. So here's some that you can do. The answers are in the ebook. That's fine. And then here's some links. Probably the most important link for you may be the one for Alex support. So right here, Alex support's it's kind of toward the end, but there's the website, there's the phone number. If you're having any technical problems with Alex, call them, ask them, and they'll help you. They're very good. They are open, I think, 7 days a week, but very limited hours. They're not open like, 8 to 9 or 8 to 9 p.m. I think particularly on the weekends, they're only open a few hours, but they are open some number of hours. So I would check those hours um, and write them down just in case you have any technical problems on Alex. Okay. I can't really help you with computer problems. I can't help you with connection problems. That's something you'll have to do with Alex. Okay. And then down here are the learning outcomes. So these are sort of general statements that the university, the college, and the department um, have come up with to describe what you're learning in this course in very general way. Okay. Here's a couple frequently asked questions. The online practice exams, are they mandatory? Are they part of my grade? Nope, they're not. Can you submit stuff after the date? Nope. Once the due date is done, you're done. That's December 17th. Having problems with the phone. Um, any problems with any technology um, regarding Alex, you want to go to Alex. Um, any problems you're having technologically in terms of, like, say, Brightspace, that's different. Alex doesn't know about Brightspace. That is, I think I have a link here. Kingsborough IT support for Brightspace. Here it is. So there's the website. There's the phone number. They have an office in the library if you ever come to Kingsborough. It's a pretty building. Great place to study if you go up to the sixth or seventh or eighth floor. But in any case, they have a help desk, and that's what you want to do if you have problems with Brightspace or your account. Yeah, CUNY first and that kind of stuff. Right? Okay. If you have an accessibility issue, you want to contact them. Here's their website. Um, and there you go. There's an intro to the syllabus. Okay. So welcome to the course. I hope it goes well. Again, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to hear from people that are from other colleges in particular, but if you're at CUNY as well, at Kingsborough as well. Um, in the past, I've noticed we've had students from all over the world. People have taken this course from as far away as Asia, North Africa. So you might be you might be in Brighton Beach, just a few feet away from the college, but you might be a couple thousand miles away. Who knows? So good luck with the course, and I hope it goes well. And again, reach out to me if you have any questions. Bye bye.